Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In My Feels. I am Emily Haydel.
I am JRE.
And we have very special guests with us today. They've worked with the likes of Twice,
Hey.
BTOB,
Hey.
specifically Peniel, who we've had on the podcast,
Shout
Stray
out.
Kids, and
Hey.
SHINee. Yes,
Okay.
yes. We have Joe Lee and SamUIL from the KAIROS Music Group to join us today. Can you guys formally introduce yourselves?
Well, what's up, everyone? My name is KAIROS, and I am the executive producer and CEO of KAIROS Music Group, and I'm really glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming. Yes.
And I am SamUIL, SamUIL, whichever you want to call. Let's just say SamUIL.
Okay.
I'm also a music producer.
I bet. No, I got that same like thing where he's like, "Do I call you Dre or JRE?" I'm like, "Whatever." He's like, "Just go with whatever that feels comfortable to you." I'll respond.
I'll respond. Wait, so what is the, like, when I saw your name, like, stylized, it's SAM, capital U, capital I, capital L. Is there a reasoning behind that, or is it?
Yeah, so ever since college, I really like song lyrics. And
Okay.
I also happen to be a Christian.
Mm.
And I was listening to a Christian song called "Before the Throne of God Above," and there's a line that ends with "Upward I look, upward I look, looking upwards is UIL."
See.
When I saw that, I was like, "Wow, like that's really profound, given the context." And so I kind of stuck that on my name. I mean, for some time I was like playing music by myself solo, and I called myself "Upward I Look," and then
Okay.
after that I was like Samuel, SAMUL. And then I switched the E out and replaced it with an I. So I thought it was really clever for that. I don't know if you agree.
It is. It
Well,
is.
with that background story, yeah, for sure. If I didn't know that, I'd be like, "That's cool." I'll just call you that, you know?
Right. But that's a cool story. I love that. I love that.
Where did the name Kairos originate?
KAIROS, well, I'll just kind of go back a little bit. So in
Take us
2012,
back.
I worked out of a studio called Songworks in Chicago, and
Okay.
I had like the best boss. I had amazing colleagues, and at the time, my wife, she was a professor at college at a college, right when she entered her 20s. So things were just really good. Everything was really good for us. But I always saw that comfort was a ceiling, and I felt that living in Chicago somewhat limited us from growing more and reach
Okay.
potential. So a big part of that decision making, we took a giant leap, decided to just drop everything and move out west, start from ground up, and it required a lot of faith. And we went through a lot of different challenges and struggles, as anyone can imagine.
For sure.
But the big part of that was timing. And much like Sam, I also am a Christian, and the meaning behind Kairos, it means in God's perfect timing. So a lot of things I think just came together when things were not making sense at times, and things were challenging. But overall, when I do reflect back, and I'm gonna kind of go into just different things where I think I'll be able to tell some stories and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but just that's where the name originates from, just in God's perfect timing.
Is this quarantine time like a rut for you guys, or is this kind of a time? Is it, or also is it any different than, if you guys were in a studio, I guess solo working alone? Like is this a, I guess, prosperous time or no right now? Would you say?
Uh, well, I know that there's a certain type of energy inside of a studio, and working with others definitely that is an important factor. But I honestly don't mind not seeing anybody. That's just personally. I don't mind sending tracks, receiving ideas back. That's totally fine with me. Um, there are things that I don't like about studios. Like, one of the things I hate the most during recording sessions is
What's
when
up?
like I give a genuine reaction to a good idea, right? Or a good take. If someone, does a really good take, I react to it. I scream, I go, yeah, just to kind of add to the energy. And I realized engineer didn't even have the talkback on. So I literally just screamed to myself, you know, and so
Awkward.
yeah, and I go, hey, can you please can you put the talkback on? And then I would do the whoo, yeah, you know, again, and it's almost like someone threw a surprise birthday party for someone, you know, and they didn't get the picture, so they have to do it again, and it's
That's really awkward, actually. Yeah.
It is awkward.
but it does happen, like moments like that, yeah.
Okay, Samuel, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the biggest difference, I actually like it a lot. I'm definitely an introvert. I enjoy like being by myself, generally speaking. I do well in groups as well, but I appreciate that aspect of it. And then I think a major difference is honestly like, you know, we work remotely, and there's been several times where we'll work with people and like we never even talked before, you know, like there's never been a
True.
conversation, like we never met properly, like um and in some ways it's interesting because you can work from like a zero context situation, like it's just the music, like you're not vibing off of each other's personalities, which could be really important in a lot of circumstances, but it's a unique opportunity to just see it as like the music, like just look at it from a musical standpoint, whether it be a top line or a beat or whatever, and just like give them your idea and they're receiving it without a context of what your personality might be. And in some ways it's like having no context is like looking at the work just for itself, and it's like
Okay.
non-biased, you know. And
Hmm.
there's a challenge there, but then I think it makes the work a little bit more refined in some regards.
So when you're, let's say you're contacted, okay, you guys have worked with JYP a number of times. Like you're contacted by JYP where you're gonna work with Stray Kids, like for a song camp or whatever it might happen to be. Do you feel like you have to research who you're going into, you know, a studio with, or no?
Well, personally, I think it's always important to know what a group's sound is, because I think for anyone that's outside of the K-pop realm, right? Like let's
Yeah,
say it's a casual K-pop fan, because there's casual fans for all things, right?
for sure.
Hmm.
Casual K-pop fan is going to think like, well, K-pop is K-pop. K-pop is all the same. Like, and it's not. Like each group has its own identity. If they haven't found their identity yet, they're fighting to find their identity.
Hmm.
They're trying to put their unique stamp in the market, you know, which is a grand market at this point. And so, you know, they want to work with people, I'd imagine, that know that goal, that know that the group and the label is trying to progress in a certain direction. You know, they're not trying to stay stagnant.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that they would appreciate, you know, songwriters, producers, top liners that have that visionary mindset as well, you know, instead of just being like, well, this is what I'm good at, so, you know, take it or leave it, you know, we'll see.
Right.
You know, like I don't think that's the best mentality. The best mentality is just like, okay, I know this group's work, I see what they're good at, I see, you know, what they're trying to do, and maybe they might be thinking this way in the future or like whatever, you know. So that's kind of how I take it.
And so it's really, I guess, like you mentioned, sometimes it's not super important to be vibing with whoever you're in the studio with, and sometimes like I know, like, and yeah, I know you guys have worked with like Jeremiah and people like that, like within the R&B sort of realm, and those studio sessions, from what I understand, are very much like the 12 or 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. sort of thing, where people are drinking and stuff like that. Like, and I don't know if it's any different, you know, in Korea, but like, um, have you found differences where like maybe, you know, with one genre you might be vibing more, it's more about the vibe, and then others are more about like, let's just pound this out, get this work done, sort of thing?
Well, I think that actually that's a very good question, because something I spend a lot of time actually talking with the A&Rs, and the A&Rs they have the role where they're kind of well, they get to manage between, you know, the writers and also the artists and the label. So I spend time just talking with them. One of the things that I get to do is I share with them just the importance of us vibing, just like you said. And you know, I tell them that sometimes it's not actually more important that we actually talk, laugh, enjoy each other, have fun, than more so than actually writing the songs itself. Because if we're able to understand each other at a level where, you know, now we can really open up, and you know, we don't have to feel guarded. We don't have to feel like, you know, good enough. Is this, you know, is this bad? I think just overall, if we just open that that up and just allow us to really explore, then we get to really find some unique success, you know. And I've been in situations where during camps, I did, you know, I would spend more time just talking with the A&Rs and, you know, talking to the writers. And I remember one camp, we had 3 cuts in one day, which is pretty significant. That's a lot of songs to get cut. So, you know, I think that is very important. And it's not always just the artist, but it's, you know, it could be the people that's around them. You know, sometimes it's the manager, sometimes it's the intern. I spent a lot of time even talking with the interns as well. You know, and you get a lot of great insight from them because they get to see something you don't, you know. And so I think it's always important to engage. I don't believe in this whole like ego thing where you walk in, you're like, yeah, I'm a big shot, like, you know, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, you know, I mean, you see that too, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, you walk into like you guys were saying, you walk into basically a party. I mean, you walk in, there's everyone doing basically everything you could think of, and I think, you know, in a situation like that, you just try to stay focused and try to figure out, you know, what the common goal is.
So do you talk to like the idol artists themselves, or just more of like their A&R? Or I guess it depends on the situation.
Yeah, you know what? I'll actually say this. They, you know, in Korea especially, they have this polite system, right? This what is it, like the polite culture, and in the beginning, it's very quiet. Like, you know, even we can like, especially us being American, like we can be very loud. We can, you know, start up some questions, but I think it starts picking up things. It starts picking up a little bit more when, you know, we're able to connect beyond just the music. So that's kind of where I went back to just you know, vibing and things like that. But once it does, yeah, we get to kind of share ideas, and they get to open up and they share their ideas. And I think Sam, you know, you could share more about the Stray Kids.
Okay, like a specific story, I guess, was one of the songs that we got cut for Stray Kids is it's called Chronosaurus. Okay, and this is probably the funniest story, and that's why I'm mentioning it. But the night before we went to JYP, the night before we even went to Korea in the first place, we were in Shanghai.
Oh.
We were you know, a part of this big production, and we were stacked schedule wise, you know, just working over there and doing all this stuff. And then in the meantime, we knew that we were going to go to Korea and have a session with JYP and with Stray Kids. And so, you know, time is ticking, the days are going by, but we know this is coming up, yet we don't have the time during the day to make songs. You know, we don't have time to make beats because, you know, our schedules are so stacked in Shanghai. So the night before arrives and anxiety starts creeping up in my veins, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, what are we doing here? Like, we have a JYP session the next day and we're here just drained and like about to go on a plane in the middle of the night.
Jeez.
So, you know, I write like a very simple, like, it just sounds so elementary, you know. It's like, it's nothing refined, just like a little 4x4 beat and whatever little chords on there, and then record like some rough top line in a hotel room. Sounds, you know, pretty bad, like demo, worse than demo. And it was what we could do with the time that we had, and we went to Korea. We're like, let's just see what happens here. We go into JYP, and then we have a listening session immediately. You know, like the A&R sit down. Some of the Stray Kids members were there as well, and then we just listened to the songs that we have prepared. You know.
Yeah.
And so they listen to this song, and it's like, you know, coming through like very nice monitors and speakers, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm cringed out. Like, I'm cringing.
Yeah, I feel you.
Right? And then afterwards, there's like this silence, you know, it's awkward as hell. I'm like, wow, they must be horrified. They must think that like they're wasting their time or whatever. And then the A&R goes, I don't think we really need to change much on this. I think we're going to take it.
What?
Wow.
I was like, that's by the grace of God, because it surely wasn't on my part, you know. But you know, they definitely found something that matched what they were looking for, and that was great. But sometimes that's just how things work out in you know, the production field of things. Like, you just don't have time. Things are just being thrown at you all the time. You have to be able to adjust really quick and adapt. And they are a little bit stoic in the beginning. Like, I thought it was because their reaction was going to be negative, but then it's really because they wanted to be polite. They wanted to, you know, take time, like give you time to share what you have to share and stuff. But it turned out great. So after that, like, you know, we wrote another one together and it was great. And then after that, we all went out to dinner and started vibing. And I was like, oh, these people are chill as hell. You know, yeah, they're super, super nice and really cool.
Wow.
I feel like I've seen so many like other like producers that have told me like there's always been like really crunch times where they are like just sit in the corner of a hotel room sweating, trying to make this out before like 2 hours to make like 4 songs. I don't know, something like that, like something crazy. Has there been moments like that? Like, I mean, the JYP situation is kind of like that.
Well, just even add to that, like when we were in China, it was we were in a extremely critical environment because we were on a show similar to like American Idol, The Voice, and they had like celebrity guests on there. So we were on there as guests, and we had to like, everything was crunch time. Everything was, you know, there was immense just pressure. And so going from that environment to Korea, where you know, I can, you know, we can actually speak, you know, some Korean too. So it's like just the environment just completely changed, and to hear that kind of feedback, like Sam said, was it was amazing just to have that change of pace, and you know, and dealing with it at the time, and like I mean, it was just like it was just an amazing experience, just because we got to really fill out the spectrum in, you know, what we experienced, from the amount of pressure to go in there and showing them what we prepared. And I think, yeah, that day we got 2 cuts on that album. So the intro song, the entrance, and also Chronosaurus. So, but yeah, like definitely, I think there's a lot of moments where, you know, we do face pressure, and we have this mentality where, and this is a good thing that I think is a really good thing to follow. A lot of times, like, when things happen, we just got to have this figure it out mentality. Even if we don't have it, we just got to figure that out. And a lot of things that the interns get to really learn and understand, just even through our system, is that you just got to figure it out. And definitely going into that situation, you know, we have to figure a lot of things on the spot. But yeah,
and also just like, you know, talking about the pressures, you know, the crunch time pressures and stuff, like that's, at this point, it's like the norm.
Okay.
Because Asia, they're a day ahead. They live in the future.
True.
You know, they're like, oh, I want it by this day, and then it's really like, oh, you want it by today? You know, it's crazy.
Basically.
Even at that time when we were at JYP, like I remember, just being real for a second, like I remember thinking like in that moment of silence that seemed like forever, I was like, man, do I still have it? Like, do I still got it?
Oh.
As a music producer, as a songwriter, like, you know, you start writing songs because you want to be expressive of how you feel. And there's like this, it has to be a balance, because it has to be a true expression of how you feel, but then it also has to connect with the masses. You can't just be like, oh, this is how you feel. It sounds terrible though, you know, because it definitely could sound terrible. It has to be translatable, understandable, digestible to the public, while still being true to what you're trying to put out, you know? And that's such a challenge, and it has to be new every single time. So that is a type of pressure that I think all songwriters, all creatives kind of put on themselves. And especially when there's a deadline that's like, you know, way too short on top of that. Yeah, it's like a sauna in room temperature.
It's when your brain is forcing it.
I think there's a lot of like factors too. I mean, like, also, I kind of wanted to share this with the audience too, that I think, you know, there are moments where, as a songwriter and producer, and I'm not trying to, you know, create fear or anything like that, but it's just like a real life situation. There's gonna be moments where you have to step up and show what you got on the spot. So as a top liner, for instance, like, you know, someone that creates melody and lyrics, you know, you got to go into booth and they press record and go, all right, go. And then you're supposed to create melodies, and everything has to come out. And so if people say, you know, one of the questions they ask is like, how do you approach that? Do you kind of mentally like think of something on this, you know, before you go in? It's like, no, you just got to go sometimes. Just like producers as well. Like, you know, they if someone needs a, you know, R&B track, all of a sudden, let's go with ballad this time. And, you know, sometimes they have to really just create something out of nothing. So those type of pressure, it's real, because, you know, studio time is expensive. I mean, you know, you don't have all the hours, and, you know, it's not like you have unlimited hours. When you go in there, it's not even just studio time. I remember being in studio with JB from God7. You know, he booked the studio for X amount of hours. I can't remember, but things come up, and people have to bounce, and things have to change. So it's really like whatever pocket that we have to create, we have to create in that moment. And sometimes under that pressure, we get some gems, and things come up. So absolutely. I mean, this is just it's I know it's like some people, it's just it's they're just not cut off for the pressure or in that moment. But I don't think it should be looked at in that sense. I think it's really just it's going there. It's almost like stand up. I'm pretty big into stand up.
Okay.
And, it's like if you go on stage, I personally like that's on my bucket list. I have never done it. I've never even I don't think I have the guts to do like something like that right now, but I would eventually like to just give it a shot. And I'm going to bomb. But the fact that like I get to even just try that, I think that's something that is, at least, for me, that's what I want to do. I think that like that type of pressure really creates something, something new, something bigger than myself. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, types of pressure and anxiety, I guess, in moments. But yeah.
No, for real. Said like literally you have to literally freestyle on the spot kind of thing. Yeah, going back to stand up, that's like that's a different type of animal right there. Like stand up comedians get booed on stage personally in front of your face, and then you gotta get up and do it again.
What's that New York stand up, like that famous? It's not the one that the SNL crew goes to, or not Laugh. It's the one that The Rock was at. Steve Harvey went to, I believe. The Apollo. Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. That's just sad. Like that's probably one of the most savage crowds, right?
It's like they boo you off the stage if they don't have to. Yeah.
But if they love you, then like you're set, like you're good, I guess. What are the cases where you would have to just go into a recording studio and just do a melody like that and not be prepared? Like when they're like, is it like I don't know if it would be a test, but it's just like, hey, like, oh, so and so just came in, like, oh, can you go in and like give them a melody? Like in what cases does that happen? I guess.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
And, I think you bring up an important word like unprepared or prepared. Preparation is like, in terms of top lining or coming up with creative melodies on the spot, like preparation has everything to do with like wiring your brain to be used to something, to be used to put out like spontaneous melodies, And so if there's someone that's like aspiring to be a songwriter or a melody writer or whatever, like the best way to do it, and I hear the excuse like, well, I'm not talented or whatever. It's like talent is such a small percentage of it. Like a lot of it is repetition and practice. And, if someone is going to be a great melody writer, like literally do it in your room all the time. Or sing along with already made hit melodies so you know what is a type of melody that is like very translatable to the masses, like, and then that becomes subconsciously wired into your brain as like, this is good stuff. And like, it becomes second nature when you actually sing it out. And if you don't have that under your belt, then really what you're doing when you walk into that booth is you cross your fingers. You're like, I hope something good comes out. I hope whatever, it's like, don't leave it up to hope. Like hope is really everything you can leave it up to once you know that you can do something special. Like, I know I'm going to do something special. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Like that's the right mentality to have.
I feel like that. I think that way too.
You gotta like take the shot, visualizing that you're gonna make the shot, not thinking that you're gonna miss it. It's like you don't go up to bat and then think that you're gonna strike out. You're gonna think that you're gonna connect. Like it's kind of like that mentality where I think you have to have going into these sessions, and just even to like definitely like add to the layer. Mind you, like sometimes there's other writers in the room. So in some sense, it's almost like a battle. Someone goes, all right, cool, bet. Like, I'm going to go and do my thing. And then they go in there and they, but so the way we control that is really like, so my whole thing is like, let's check out our egos at the door, which is, it's much harder than, being said, but because you can imagine just everyone's egos, a lot of these writers, but they come in and they try to check that out the door, and they come in and really our whole objective is let's try to make the best record possible, meaning whatever is going to make this better, we're going to try to keep. And collectively, if you have that chemistry, if you have that good energy, good people, good vibe, good energy, just it's all going to stay there, and it's going to create what hopefully will be the best for the record. So that's another layer too. I mean, it's not that, you know, you just go
Yeesh.
there and then just like do it and then everyone goes, okay, good, we got it. It's like, you know, there's A&Rs, there's other people that will definitely voice their opinion. And, you know, the culture in Korea too, it's gotten so much better. But, you know, in the past, because of the polite culture, sometimes, and you know, I've seen people go like, yeah, this is a cut, this is gonna be a single, actually, we got it. And I've seen that these A&R say this to the writers, and then they go in the back and, you know, they whisper to the other
Yeah.
A&R, oh, it's trash. And then I'm like, whoa, like, you know, like we just wasted so much money and time,
Damn.
you know, going into all of this. And I think, you know, what's important is that we bridge that, and essentially that, you know, that's a big part of what, you know, I do. And I think it's so important, because when I asked him, I said, you know, what is it that we need to make this, you know, go to the next level? And they might say it might just be the middle eight, the bridge, or, you know, the section here, we can change it, flip it, or change it around. I think then we'll be, you know, we'll be able to, you know, make it move. And I said, okay, cool, then we got it, you know, we'll do that. And then you know, I've seen songs get cut that way. And so I think a lot of this barrier or this gap, what, not just in the language, but in the culture, you know, we can really focus on that to kind of ease the tension, or sometimes the pressure, you know, that, you know, mounts up.
Sheesh, man. Do y'all even get sleep? As a producer slash songwriter, is it possible for you to sit and unwind to music without connecting it to work?
I mean, I listen to music in two ways, I guess. It's just one, critically, you know, I would have to just really all the way down to even, you know, 0.1 dB. Like, it's like, so this is something so ridiculous, because I think, you know, this is like, it's not even audible at this point, but sometimes I have to really dial in, because how that affects like the, you know, the different processing in the chain. But for the folks that don't know, it takes 3 whole dBs to hear one volume on your TV. So if you put one notch on your TV screen, like, or your volume, that's about 3 dBs. And so when I'm talking about like 0.1, 0.2, you know, it's really just more about the relationship, how that affects like the processing and things like that. But you know, yeah, when it comes to critical listening, you know, I you know, I'm in the zone for that, but also I have to separate from that and just listen for pure enjoyment. You know, just sometimes it's like I listen to some records from the '90s and it's like terrible sonically, but I enjoy it. You know, I love listening to music like that. And then there's another thing I like to do, is which is just silence. You know, and I guess some people find it very interesting that, you know, sometimes I just drive without anything on. And you guys can imagine, like, if I'm listening to music all day, sometimes like the alternative of that is just being silent is good. You know, it's like hearing nothing and just being able to think, and you hear your own thoughts. That's something I find, you know, and I find good as well. So
For me, I am an avid podcast listener. Well, Joe Rogan podcast, of course.
Yeah, just I was recently listening to that actually. But
And I've been listening to a lot of, like, you know, comedians, just comedians in general. They have great podcasts. Theo Vaughn, who's probably my favorite.
yeah,
When I do listen to music, there's 2 different types of music, I almost feel like, because maybe I'm being super judgmental, but sometimes I feel like I hear songs and I'm like, oh, this is crafted to be a hit. Like, it's like it's crafted so that it can brainwash people into like singing it and buying it. So it's like, so it's like a commercial thing. And
yeah.
and I feel like in some ways, like, even though I'm a part of that, but like I feel like the song's corrupted. Like, let it be art, like let it be a true expression, like the melody and the words, let it be something that came out of some hurt or happy, you know, and you wrote it in your bedroom, and like, you know, like you didn't know if it was good enough, you showed it to somebody, it's like, oh shoot, and then it somehow accidentally became a hit. Like, I love songs that are authentic. And so,
Yeah, raw.
and when it comes to, like, you know, listening to music like that, I love listening to, like, honestly, like folk songs, you know, where it's like lyrical, you know, acoustic music, where it's not trying to be too flashy. And then when it comes to like even Korean music, even yesterday when I was driving home, I turned on IU, and IU is probably my favorite like Korean female songwriter. And it's because, like, regardless of whether she wrote it for it to be a hit or not, whatever, like, her melodies are so undeniable.
Okay.
And I'm not the best at Korean, but when I do like look up her Korean lyrics, they're deep. You know, it's good lyrics. And I was listening to the song "Above the Time." I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's like one of the
Mm.
ballads. It's an album cut
Ooh.
in one of the late. I think it's the latest mini album she put out. The one with like "Blooming."
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Great, amazing track, and the melody just sticks with me. I feel her emotion. Like I love that. But if it's not that, yeah, I'm listening to Theo Von and Joe Rogan.
Hey.
Interesting. What does it mean when a track is like meant to be a hit? If that makes sense. Like, is it just
Just crafted.
basic? Okay, yeah, we're crafted. Yeah.
It's such a hard question because people that are really skeptical of the music industry, they just think like K-pop or like pop music is you put it in a template and it should work. Like you should put it in
Mm.
a template and it's gonna be
Mm.
a hit. It's like, then how do you explain, like you can't say that about a hit, because how do you explain what's that song by Lil Nas X?
Old
Oh,
Town
Old
Road.
Town Road.
Yeah, Old Town Road. Like how do you explain that? Like nobody put that in a template. That's like outside of the template. Like those types of songs become hits, you know? So it's like from a creative standpoint, I think any song can be a hit. But
Mm.
there is the other aspect of it where like, you know, A&Rs and songwriters will think about like what is the thing that's going to be viral? Like what is the thing that's going to repeat in someone's mind subconsciously? And I think
Mm.
there is probably a certain amount of math to it, you know? There has to be. Because if there's no rhyme or reason within a song, then there's no structure, and without a structure, there's no such thing as like catchiness. Um, but
Oh,
but yeah, like I guess if you want to boil it down to like one word, it's catchiness. You know, you want to make it really catchy.
The hook and everything.
right. Yeah.
Hook
Yeah.
them in.
um, when I think of the template thing that you just mentioned, one song that I feel like didn't like try to abide by a template was "Signal" by Twice that you guys worked on, and I just listened to that and I'm like, wow, like this is a very very different song. Like when you guys were working on that, like what was the vibe you were trying to go for?
Mhm. Well, actually, that's funny. I think this is the first time me actually mentioned this
Ooh.
publicly, but I received the ideas, the bare bone ideas from JY Park, and he sent in it was like the drums, it was the bass, um, and the sketch was already, to me it was great. Like I loved it because I'm a huge JY Park fan. Like and I grew up listening to his music, and he's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
on my top 10 writers of all time. So for him to send something there, I was just like, this is totally JY Park. I we started on just kind of sharing ideas back and forth, and I remember hearing his thoughts on it, and I think I actually wrote majority of all the top line, the melody, like in the garage. I think while I was like working out,
Oh,
but it was something that I just vibed with instantly, just because I thought the track, the ideas were great, and then we worked on production. We put in different. I think originally the intro wasn't there, so
oh,
like the demo title was called Lipstick. Oh no, Lip Gloss. I'm sorry,
Mm.
and it's like, oh man, I would share the lyrics, but it was just this whole idea, like it was almost as if like Nicki Minaj like singing.
Mm.
So the
oh,
demo version is actually very Nicki Minaj. It's not like really cutesy, or it's
Oh
like
wow.
more like Nicki Minaj style. It's like a true OG. Like it's like, I think that's
Mm.
the actual
mm.
I
lyric.
can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like that in the beginning, and then we kind of rolled that off of that, and then Twice they recorded it, and they came back like with their colors,
Yeah.
with
Mm.
and they actually asked me to fly out there to record them, but I mentioned before, like I'm not really, that's not necessary for me. Like I don't have to, see people to record them. So I think due to scheduling, I just had them send it back to me, and it just started building from there. And I think over time, just within that period, we created something that was different from the original sketch,
Mm.
different from even the ideas that I had. And then the last thing we worked on was the hook, the Jerry part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all I can say really is like JY Park, he's a genius, and just getting to
Mm.
work with him was such a honor and a pleasure. And I'm always like, to learn from someone like him growing up and to connect with him later in life. I think that's kind of the magic, just behind this industry, just being able to do that and create something different because of our different backgrounds and culture, really.
I love that. Wow.
Mm, led to Song of the Year, so
Yeah, you did. Did. I have a question just about working with Peniel, like working with your family. What is that? What was that like working with him for Flip
sure.
and as well as with BTOB and in general, like with Cube, like when you're around family?
Well, Peniel is like, he's just so incredible, and all of his friends already know this, but he's just one of the most genuine people. Like,
Mm.
he how he is on video or how he is on TV that's how he is in real life.
Mm.
And I I remember for Flip, it was funny because actually I'm gonna back up to that girl. So that girl, when we did that, um, I had this idea. I was telling him, I said, hey, how about we try something crazy? How about we just have you sing? Like, because everyone's not going to expect it. No one's going to expect you're going to sing on a record because you already have singers in the group. Why don't we just come out with you singing? And he's like, yeah, I'm down. Like, he's like, I'll give it a
So
shot.
easy.
And we tried it, and we start. I at the time, like, we didn't have too many of that music going on, and I said, I really feel like we're gonna go into this tropical vibe soon, and let's just jump on this now. Let's go on this direction, and someone like him to like see my vision and go, yeah, I ride with that. Like, I'm gonna do it. Like, it takes a special person, a special artist for sure, to really take that leap, and for him, he not only trusted me, but he really wanted to build on that and be different. And so when we came across, we did a lot of different records in between, but for Flip, um, that was actually going to be my song that I was going to release.
Okay.
I told Peniel, I said, listen, I got this song. I'm excited about it. I'm not going to give it to anybody. This is my thing. Check it out. And he goes, yeah, I want it. I said, all right, you got it. Like, all right, and so he, it was just really quick because, for him, it was a record I probably wouldn't have given it to anybody else. But, I know that I just knew that he was going to turn that into a hot record, and so he got Benzino on there, and
Yeah.
overall, like, it really came together nicely, and yeah, I'm very proud of that record.
Yeah, I love that song. I like the music video. He does that little dance. I can't mimic it, but I love it. I love it.
I feel like he could have made some TikTok videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just, they have a saying called "Trust the objective opinion of the majority." With that being said, do you ever have focus groups for certain songs? And if Emily want to chime in on that too, if...
Yeah. I think I was looking at it was like almost like a business page, but a forum page, and at the bottom they had like some like questions that they asked you guys, or I guess it's sort of an interview, but it said trust the objective of the majority, and I was just thinking like I think it was phrased like, let's say you have 10 people and 9 people out of those 10 say the song sucks, but then that one person is like, yeah, this is a great song. Don't go with that one person's like opinion, like clearly like go with what the majority like is thinking. So I was thinking like in that case, I was like wondering, did you guys do like focus groups for songs, or is it more of just who's in the room with you or in the studio with you at the time?
I think for any artist or someone that wants to create music, it's always important to have a completely non-biased opinion. Someone that's not connected, as a family member or friends, like someone that's just gonna give you a real answer or a reaction, without any sort of like intention behind it. And I think, and so when it comes to, for me, I oversee a lot of the music that comes out of KAIROS Music Group, and I try to be that. I try to make sure that I provide that completely non-objective opinion where it's going to give that feedback that the producers need to how they're going to shape their craft and continue to work forward. So it's kind of a sensitive area when it comes to discussion when the producers get together, because obviously there are egos and different reasons why people want their stuff on there.
Mm.
But for me, I think it's important that collectively, if we can, find something that, and also it has to work the other way too. Like, you have to be able to go, yeah, I could see that, I can
Mm.
see your side of, I can see your point of view. I can see, where you're coming from. And as long as there's that equal opportunity where everyone's willing to see it from someone else's perspective, then I think there can be a discussion, and I think there can be an answer. But if we all go into this with, thinking like, well, I got to get on the split, meaning like I got to get on, the royalty split. I want to get on the song, and I want, and sometimes that is kind of the objective or the reasoning behind, people trying to speak up louder than someone else and trying to get on the song.
Mm.
But just, overall, I think, the way we like to operate and move forward is that, we try to really preserve the record and make sure that the best will only make it to the record. So yeah, I'm sure it's different from, for every team or especially every individual, but we definitely try to, see it for that. And, and I think that makes it a little bit easier for us to let things go at times.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That
makes
definitely
sense.
comes with a lot of like trusting each other, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, collectively we generally believe very strongly like don't corrupt the song. The song is like it's almost like there's something that Michelangelo said. I'm not trying to be like some deep philosopher
Okay.
or whatever, but
Mhm.
Michelangelo, when he used to like sculpt, he would say like the statue is already there. He just needed to like remove the marble. And so, like the
Oh.
song, in some sense, like when you feel like the song's right, like when it fits, like you're like, oh, that's what it was supposed to be. And then it doesn't have to be any more than that. But sometimes people want to put in a little more, because of various reasons. Like who knows? Maybe they legitimately think that the song could be better with that. But
Mm-hmm.
but we generally believe that like yeah, you shouldn't touch it if it's good. If it's good, then it's good. And regarding your the quote about like even if one person doesn't like it, does that
Yeah.
make it a good song? If the majority likes it, is it a good song? I would generally agree with that because
Mm-hmm.
if a song is really good, we're not even talking majorities. Like a lot of people will like that song. If a song is bad, a lot of people will not like that song. So like, and if you have a self-preserving ego, you're gonna come up with reasons why the majority or the masses are wrong.
Mm.
And if you can't see the logic or the fault in that logic, then like God help you. Like I don't know.
True.
But if you come at it from an angle of like, you know what, there's a lot that this needs improvement on, and I don't know exactly what that is, but someone else might know. Someone else that doesn't have any context that comes at it from an objective point of view.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that ego is what holds back excellence, to be honest. To be corrected is a gift, honestly, especially in the music industry. Like from a creative standpoint, a lot of people want to be like the songwriters of old. They want to be that one songwriter person that writes all the hits or whatever, Elton John or whoever. Like
Mm-hmm.
that day is over. Like now is a time to collaborate. And that doesn't make you any less of a songwriter than those greats, than Freddie Mercury, you know?
Mm.
But what it does is it might possibly make you even better because you are looking at each other for correction, for improvement. And all you have to do is bite the bullet a little bit and be willing to hurt your feelings, maybe, And that's also one of the reasons why people are so reluctant to enter the booth to top line. Like there's been several times where I'd be, working with somebody and they go to top line and they're visibly and audibly nervous. Their voice is shaking and all that. And you just can't catch a vibe because you're like, we're just trying to write a song,
Yeah.
But the whole time they're thinking like, what is this guy going to think about me? What is Sam going to think about me if I don't come up with a good idea? But in my mind, I'm just like, yo, like,
We just need to make a song.
like I have way worse ideas than whatever you shakingly saying just now before, like we're all humans, and people can't come to terms with that, like that we're all flawed and we all have bad ideas sometimes, like, then we just can't move forward. So we just believe in moving forward, correcting each other if it needs correction, and just making the best crafted song possible.
I guess in that respect, for people who aren't into or I guess full fledged producers or songwriters, yet. Is it necessary to have their own studio, or is it okay to like be at home and continue, to work from your bedroom and like you have your little setup in the corner of your room or something like that?
Well, I think it's important to have your setup now. Probably more. It's like at a time like this, probably the most important time to do it. To have your own setup. Considering that people are just not going to the studios or going out, meeting up with people. Like one of our studios, in downtown, we had like a 2,500 square feet facility, like a studio with multiple rooms, with multiple studios and production rooms. And I remember at the time it was just great. We just had a lot of people. We'll bump into a lot of people. Just even going to a lot of studios in LA, you're gonna run into like when I was over at Record Plant in LA, like there's will.i.am, and we can just go down the hall. There's Justin Bieber. Sam, you remember we were at the Village. We were at John Mayer's room, and then downstairs we met with Usher, and then down the hall there was U2. And like you bump into all these people, which is great, but at the same time, that's just not happening right now. And so I think just so that things don't stop, we can keep things going. Definitely having your own setup, is a good idea right now, I think.
Just even apart from the pandemic, like having your own setup is very useful, not only for like recording purposes, but more because you need practice. Like if you're trying to be an aspiring songwriter or a producer, like there's so many people in LA that are like, I'm a producer. It's like, okay, let me hear your stuff. It's like, oh, it's not ready yet. It's like, what are you talking about? You're a producer. It's like you have to practice all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Having a setup in your room is literally like, if you're a bodybuilder, like shouldn't you have a gym or like a weight setup? Like like you gotta train. That's what it is. It's like a bench. Like you're training all the time. And so you don't need the best equipment, like I know a lot of people are thinking like, well, how can I get started? Like even getting the most basic level stuff is so expensive. And it's like, then pay less and get used stuff. Like pay less and get like cheaper stuff. Get not good stuff. Like it's fine. But record yourself, like record yourself and know your voice. Learn to stop cringing at your own vocals. Learn to fix your vocals, edit your vocals, whatever it might be, make it sound or if you're a beat maker, like make that kick drum sound fatter than ever. It's like figure out a way to do that. Like learn EQing on YouTube. Like school is literally on YouTube if you want to become an engineer, like. And so the resources are endless, literally. Like resources are endless. And at this point in the pandemic, time is also endless. Like you literally spend your time doing something new, investing in yourself. And a lot of times people don't want to do that because it's a scary venture. I get it. Doing something new is scary because you might fail. But once again, if your ego is not a part of it, then you're not going to be that afraid of failure.
Yeah, the equipment is only good as the person running behind it. Yeah, I think that's something that's so important because I think everybody wants to get the best equipment, best this and best that. But for sure, like I think in our industry, we want to definitely work on our craft, and I think a taste is a big part of it because like essentially like the fans and the consumers, they buy for your taste. Not because you had some fancy equipment, not because you have some amazing connection. They go for your taste. And so if a lot for a lot of the younger viewers out there that are starting up their production work or their music, it's important to develop your taste. And I think that's one of the things that we really have to develop as like a come up writer, artist, or anything like that.
If you guys had to choose, just in K-pop, if you had to choose your favorite K-pop group of all time.
I'm a loyal Big Bang fan, so.
Oh, okay.
It's the only reason, like, that's how I got into K-pop, because I was super into like Neo, Usher, and I was like, Taeyang had his solo. That was basically like Neo and Usher, and I was like, I Need a Girl, Wedding Dress kind of stuff. I'm like, all right, and that's how I got into it. I was like, all right.
That was a really good record. I Need a Girl.
Yeah.
I would have to choose between probably SHINee and Stray Kids.
SHINee.
Yeah, I can't choose either, or between the two. But I think
if film was hanging off the cliff, not playing.
No, I don't know. Yeah, it's between those two, I would have to choose between those two for sure. What about y'all?
Oh man, Peniel. That's easy.
Okay.
BTOB, yeah. All right. What about you, Sam?
Well, Male or female? Can I give you that?
You can, you can.
Man, that's really hard. Female wise, I think my favorite, like there's other groups that has more songs that I like actually, which is interesting. But my favorite female group is probably Red Velvet.
I felt like you were gonna
Nice.
say that. Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
They're the most daring. You know, SM in general, like they're not so. It seems like they're not so concerned with like let's make sure this hits number one. It's more like let's try to push the envelope.
Yeah, I feel that.
Mm.
And I really really appreciate that. As for boy groups, like I honestly don't know if there's anyone doing it better than BTS.
BTS are
Mm.
killing it.
Apart from like their popularity, just even their stuff like before they blew up into the to Beatles 2.0, like
Yeah.
songs were so good, you know, even before.
Yeah.
I would
Mm.
argue possibly even better than like lately.
The new ones. I kind of agree myself.
Mm.
I love the like their older albums. I was like, that's where I got into it.
I actually like ITZY. I gotta put that in there because it's like,
ITZY.
we haven't had a group like that since I feel like 21 or something. You know.
Yeah, ITZY's been killing it.
I was gonna have one, I guess, and talking about K-pop right now, the song camps, are those a very competitive environment to be in, or is it kind of like it seems from what I've heard very collaborative, like everybody comes together, works together, you churn out these songs, like working however many hours for that 1 week, and then you just show the songs later. It's not like let's pick and choose sort of thing, or is it that way, I guess.
Whether a song gets picked or chosen, that's for later to decide,
Right.
I think. But the songwriting process is always going to be like maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 people max, like in like per production room, and then like the schedule kind of like shifts around and stuff like that. But it is collaborative, but then like there's no doubt it's going to be competitive in a fun way. You know, it's not like we're trying to undercut each other or something like that. But at the end of the day, like when you show each other the songs you guys all wrote in one room, you guys are blasting it, and everyone's kind of like looking at each other, like sizing each other up. Like, oh, you wrote
For sure.
I mean, I also gotta I want to add too. Like, I'm not gonna mention the agency or any names, but I remember we were at a camp, and I remember one of the writers. She's from the States, and she she does she was kind of taking the time, like I think during our break time, she was just twerking. She was just doing her thing. But in Korea, like that is something that's like, whoa, like, I've only seen this on music videos. I'm not, really comfortable with all this. But Sam and I, we're from the States, so it's not like anything new. It's like, we see that we were in a session, and she was part of that group when we were in one of the sessions, and she was just twerking next to one of the producers, which was the agency. He was signed with the agency, so he was working. He was just trying to look right at the screen, and her butt was just like right there the whole time. And Sam and I, we just couldn't stop laughing. Like that was just one of the funniest.
That's hilarious.
He was just trying to keep a straight face, like not be rude by looking, but like, and I've seen him, some of the guys just look out the window because they didn't know where else to look. Oh man, that was
This is all in Korea?
yeah, it was in Korea.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
They're just wild people, like we're all just a bunch of wild people that have crazy ideas in our minds. We got to express
sure.
them. Like that particular individual needed to express themselves while like vibing out and twerking, trying to come up with ideas and all that. And like, it's coupled with the Korean culture of like, hey, be polite, be reserved and like not do that. Like maybe that producer is a wild dude too, but then he just knows to kind of like be calm in public, and to see that he needs to like look away. And
you remember? I think I don't know if we're allowed to swear, so I'll just say the letter.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
She just screamed like, because she screwed up on a part, so she's like, ah, fuck. And then the producer freaked out because in movies they use that word to fight, or to get into argument. So he kind of whispered over to us and said, hey, is she mad at me? Like, are we arguing? What's going on? And I was like, oh, that is so funny. That is hilarious. Because she screamed that like every time she screwed up.
Yeah.
So it's
different
like
culture.
Yeah, different culture. And, it's something that's just so fascinating from us, especially from our end, because, we see from both sides.
I feel like there should be like a reality TV show that comes in for the song camps and just films all that.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. Dre, can you do that, please?
Can I do it? What do you want me to do? Set it up? I don't know if I can do that.
a lot of the videos would be muted because the songs would be confidential, you know.
Yeah, to be honest.
Oh, that's
So
right.
it wouldn't really work unless it was specifically for that show, exactly, like some kind of competition. What's like one record you would take if you only could have that one record or album? You like you're stuck on an island and you only can listen to that one album. Okay, give me like your top 5.
Man, I like old records that it's just, you know, like nostalgia type records, you know. So I have to go back to some of my old punk rock days, or
Hey,
maybe even yeah, some of the hip hop records. Like Kanye has to be in there, I
oh
think.
nice. Like the graduation, no dropout. I mean college dropout.
It would be Dark Twisted Fantasy for sure.
Oh whoa.
There's so many, but yeah, I think some of the older records for me kind of do it for me. So
Okay, bet.
Off the top of my head, it would be Dark Twisted Fantasy, Kanye. There's a band called The Shins, and they're an indie pop rock group that changed my life back in the day, back in high school. But you know, best melodies, best lyrics ever. I would take that. The album's called Oh Inverted World. John Mayer's first major release, Room for Squares.
Oh word. Okay.
I would have to put in Thriller, MJ, and then the last one would have to be like Abbey Road by the Beatles.
All right, bet.
What about you, Dre?
Well, I definitely grew up on like Kanye's like discography, of course, especially in high school. But I'm pretty out there. Like, I always, someone asks me this question, they always get surprised when I say, because I listen to like R&B and hip hop. But if I had to listen to one artist, it'd probably be Frank Sinatra. I think it's very easygoing, easy to listen to, and I just like be in my own world. Of course, some Bob Marley. I mean, I grew up on that ish. Yeah, Michael Jackson, of course, too. Man, if I could just take everything. But yeah. You said Sean Mayer, and I was surprised you said Room for Squares, but that's a good album. I would go for Continuum. What about you, Em?
The first thing that came to my mind was Swedish House Mafia's last album.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Did not expect that from you.
Yeah, I know. I didn't expect it either, but it came to mind. I don't know.
What advice can you give to like up and coming like producers and songwriters? Like if you could give one advice.
I always say don't let quitting be an option, but that's, you know, with not just this industry, but, you know, with everything else. But I think it's like, you know, have you guys ever planted anything like, you know, lemons or, you know, whatever?
Okay. Yeah.
I think that is what success is like. You know, it's like you visualize whatever that seed will become, right? And you know, there are days with good sunlight and weather. There are days when everything is, you know, trying to kill that plant, you know, and but I think as long as, you know, you care for it and you visualize, you'll always be confident that one day that plant will bear fruit. And I think just having that kind of mindset, no matter what happens, it really, this industry requires that for you to, you know, make any step forward. And so I always urge a lot of the guys that are coming up, even the people that are, you know, even my peers, even for myself, you know, I have to always remind myself that, you know, this thing that we do, it's not about the easy way, you know, or not doing it, you know, because, you know, it feels good all the time. I think Kobe said it one time, you know, if it's a path that's easy, then it's a path not worth taking. And so I always keep that in mind, you know, with anything that comes in our path and just what we do as a team. But definitely, you know, that's something that I would share with the audience.
Yeah, and I would just say this is something I tell myself, and, you know, obviously it would apply to someone that's trying to start in the music industry as well. But I would just say, like, let success be only a byproduct of your habits and the things that you enjoy, you know, because whether you're successful or not, you just got to keep doing it. Like, so, you know, like a lot of people want success, but then does that mean that if you get success, are you going to stop? You know, it's like, is the success the thing that you really love, or is the process, is the making, is the creating the thing that you really love? Because if that is the case, then success, whether it comes or not, like if it does come, it's just a byproduct. It just happens. But you know, you can just be like, cool, all right, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. And then you're just as happy, you know, like, and that's what really matters in the end. You're doing what you love. not
True.
doing this so that you can eventually love yourself or love your life. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, someone today told me trust the process, and I was like, I hear it all the time, but like once you're in it, you're like, oh yeah, trust the process, yeah. But Joe, you said something about you said it a couple times. You said like visualization, which was something we've talked about on the podcast a number of times. But I'm wondering, is that something that you practice daily, like actually visualizing, or is that just something that you're constantly just thinking about what you would or intend towards what you want in life, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've had records that come out that like I would like think about like, man, I want to land that record so bad, you know, and um, you know what I would do is I would actually write an email to myself, and I would write in the subject that I got the cut. I would write in the content saying that congratulations, this, you know, you got the cut, you got the single, you got this, and you know, in the morning I would wake up, and that would be the first thing I look at, and in that split second, I actually think it's real, but
Oh.
I realized, wait, yeah, I wrote this myself. This is, you know, but the reason why I do that is because I think we need to start our days believing that we already succeeded, not that, oh, what if I fail? And that's the practice that I really promote and try to encourage, because as silly as that sounds, you know, I think for me, like when I look at an email and when we tell ourselves that, our brains cannot tell the difference if this is something that's real or not. But if it's constantly being used to something that's moving, and that's kind of in the form of, you know, when you manifest something, you know, and when you really visualize and when you bring it to life, I think that's the practice that it requires. I think, you know, when I start writing an email to myself and tell myself that I got the cut, my brain is going to start thinking that. I'm going to start acting that way. I'm going to start, you know, start the day actually with the, you know, the reality that this has already happened. So, and that has. And I would actually get the email from the A&R saying that I got the cut. But then at that point, I'm not, you know, even that excited because I already did it to myself. And I said, well, you know, it actually, you know, was supposed to happen. It's almost like, well, is that, you know, is that being cocky? Is that being like, you know, and I don't think so. I think for me, you know, it's important that you understand your path, and, you know, that this whole effort, everything you're working for has its purpose, and you're moving forward in that direction. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And I think that's a lot of waste of time, because if we're just kind of like, well, let's try it and see what happens, we don't have that much time, our lifetime, to be guessing. And but if we're certain, if we really believe in something and saying that that's going to happen, and it's going to, you know, we visualize and we say that it's going to, you know, that's something that we can reach. I always say this: it's like almost like a Ziploc bag with air in it. You can't see it, but when there's air in it, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, even if we can't see it, as long as we know that it's there, then it's going to become part of your reality.
Hey.
Yeah, that was nice. I've never heard someone like writing an email to themselves, but like that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that helps. I'm sure.
I'm helping a lot of songwriters and producers right now, you know, collect their royalties and protect their copyrights. A new publishing company called KAIROS Music. We're launching very soon, and it would, you know, with some of my favorite writers, and some big names, and, you know, some of them are definitely bigger names in the industry, and you guys will recognize. But I can't go into details, but I just want to give a heads up. I'm starting a new podcast myself, Loud Snackers. We'll have our first episode out next week, and also, yeah, we have new releases coming out this month, including this dope song I wrote and produced for ITZY.
Nice.
It's not the title, but it will be on the new album, and I'm very excited for this one. So please check that out. Lastly, I don't know if you guys know this, but I did a mixtape with Peniel a while back. And I know a lot of the fans been asking about this mixtape, the next one, volume 2. And the original one, we only printed like 500 physical copies, and like I think only signed like 10 of them. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you guys want some of that to, you know, just give to your fans or whatever, just let me know. We'll connect again. I'll send it to you guys.
Sure.
You guys can do some, like, you know, giveaway or whatnot.
Oh yeah.
We would love to.
But yeah, Instagram, Twitter handles, it's all the real KAIROS, and yeah, you guys can check out my updates there.
You can follow me at SamUIL Lee, so SAMUILEE on Instagram. just to stay relevant, I was thinking about doing a podcast too, but then I actually put one episode up and then put it back down.
Oh, why is that?
It's self-doubt.
Oh.
I'm working at it because it's not really like a long form conversation type of thing. It's like stuff that I'm actually putting together and like releasing it as like an organized piece of content or something.
We'll look forward to it. Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Well, that's it for In My Feels. I am JRE.
I'm Emily.
I am KAIROS.
I am SamUIL.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thank you for listening.